They're the liberal rednecks. They like cornbread and butt sex. They care way too much but don't give a fuck. They're the liberal rednecks that makes some people upset, but they got three big old dicks that you can suck.
Well, here we are, Cho, you and I, no longer together. Always a shame, but that's all right. We'll get through it somehow. It won't be long till we're together again this weekend. Matter of fact, as of the time people hear this, starting tomorrow, Thursday, August 19th through the 21st, we're going to be at world famous Comedy Works in Denver, Colorado, one of the very best comedy clubs in the country. Please come and see us. We're very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, we are. And hey, to piggyback on what you just said, I do miss you. I got all set up here to do the Zoom, and I was like, oh man, I kind of spoiled myself with being in LA for 12, 13 straight days, hanging out with the homie, having a human connection. That was nice. But hey, we'll get to have it in a couple days. Denver, Colorado, August 19th through 21st. Go to wellredcomedy.com for tickets. WELLRED comedy.com. And hey, if you're one of those, there's a bunch of you out there, probably people who don't live in Denver. We're also coming to some other places. So just go to wellredcomedy.com, check it out. Get your ticket. Come see us. We're trying to be safe. The mask and all that, and we're gonna get through this, and we're gonna get back to some semblance of normality. And I'm really excited, man. I've been working on some new jokes this week.
That's good, Joe. I'm very sorry. I need to do another plug thing real quick.
Okay,
that's all right.
Fine.
We'll do this. Sure. Get this out of the way. I need to let y'all know, and no pressure, only if you want to. Just letting you know that I have started a Patreon. So, yes, if you want to become a patron of me, just to show your support, I'd appreciate it. But I'm trying to make it worth it. I've got two exclusive Patreon series, one of which I rate and review American politicians. I started with Marsha Blackburn, and then episode number 2 was Lindsey Graham. I also do a thing where I read the news in real time off Twitter and respond to it or riff off of it, try to make it funny. It's all very fucked up and sad.
Yeah.
But, that's part of the challenge. What are you going to do? We have
that's what you do, baby.
That's what I do. Yeah. And so, both of those going on Patreon and some other fun stuff too. We're going to do some behind the scenes clips, tour shit, all that good stuff. And again, it's just a really cool way for you to show your support. It's less than a goddamn cup of coffee. I mean, it's $5 a month for a whole lot of extra Trae in your life. That's right. Each of these series are like 10-minute clips on average, roughly. So, you got plenty of extra content for the low price of $5, or if you should choose $10 a month, then I would appreciate you considering going to patreon.com/Trae Crowder and supporting your boy. It would mean a lot to me. And it'll be fun.
And if I may, because I don't know if people know this, this is a little bit of how the sausage get made. We're successful comedians. We've been comedians for a long time. We've been successful for a way lot less, but I would consider us successful comedians. But the neurosis and all that part of the process never goes away. So Trae was talking about doing this Patreon, and then he as he often does with things when he's not sure about them, or if he's getting super nervous about doing a new thing, he sent me some of the clips that he was putting on, like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. And me and Trae have known each other for a long time. We don't have to watch each other's sets all the time, even though we love each other. It's hilarious. It's like, if you're somebody out there who, as soon as a liberal redneck rant goes off, you're like, God dang, I could have done with 10 more minutes of that. You got to sign up for the Patreon. It's tremendous. I wish that I was able to do things like that, but the only thing that I'm that long-winded about is like the series finale of Loki, and nobody wants to hear that shit from me. So yeah, it's great. Is it patreon.com/Trae Crowder?
That's right. Yeah, just my name, Trae, Trae Crowder.
Keeping it simple.
Keeping it simple, But yeah, if you like what I do, you'll like the shit that I do on Patreon, and I'd love to see you over there. Okay, sorry. You were saying you're working on new material? That's fun.
Yeah, it is fun, and it's like, I can't. It's like a double-edged sword with new material, because like, so often it happens that the more excited I am about a bit, ultimately the worse it will do.
The less it hits for people. Yeah, right.
Yeah, and like one that I'm just kind of like, we'll see. Like, I kind of had this idea, or like I make it up on the spot. That'll end up being the one that closes an album.
Yep.
And I say all
that way.
And I say all that to say this: I'm so fucking excited about everything. Everything I've been like, I'm too excited. Like, I'm like, oh man, this is really good. Like, you're back to form right here. And unfortunately, like, as you know, like, you can write your ass off and you can put it all on the page and stand up, but like at the end of the day, it doesn't mean anything until you see how it goes in front of a crowd.
Right.
And
well,
so,
we've only done one weekend's worth of shows. It was in Birmingham, Alabama. That's the only ones we've done so far. Denver is weekend number 2. And I had, for my set at Birmingham, it was all brand. I wrote a whole brand new set for that I then was trying to figure out. Like you said, I also pretty much all of it, I was like, oh, I'm really, really digging this. We'll see how it goes. And none of it went poorly. It was
great shows.
A lot of it was like, and a lot of it was like, and this is part of the fun of it, tweaking it, massage. Okay, I can get rid of that. I don't need that, and it didn't hit that hard, or I could do something else here or whatever. Just sort of figuring it out. And over the course of the weekend, doing multiple shows, like sort of feeling yourself figuring it out is, one of the most exciting parts of doing it. But I'm, obviously I'm still in that process. So I'm got that set and I'm going to work it more this weekend. And, but yeah, it's very exciting. It's fucking honestly, well, especially when you do like longer sets, like we do, at least 30 or 40, 45 minutes or whatever, like for me anyway, some comics are different. It's very, very rare that I ever walk on stage in normal times. It's very rare, almost never, that I'll walk on stage and be doing all new material
for sure.
Because you like do it in chunks. You you slide a new thing in the middle
10 minutes
if it's working. That type of thing. So there's an added element right now where we were taken out of the game for 18 months by the universe.
Brutal.
And so it's like going back up there in front of an actual crowd that came to see us with all brand new material that had never been done before was fucking very nerve-wracking, but also exhilarating. And it was a lot of fun. So I can't wait to keep going with it.
Yeah, man. And it's like it's another thing too, but like the pandemic, when this happened and we all got locked into our houses, I was like at that time so thankful that like I was like, God dang, I'm so glad that I didn't move to New York or LA right before this. Like, dang, this is awesome that I'm in Georgia when this is all. But now I'm going through the complete opposite, where like it used to. I never thought, I was like, I don't have to live where there's a lot of comedy clubs because we tour so much that I'm always going up. Like I'm going up literally almost every week. And hell, if we have a week off, I'm fine with being like, you know what, man, it's okay. Like you literally are allowed. It's probably better for you to take a break from doing this. Cause like you can get rusty, but you can also like over-ripen the fruit and it fall off too. Like you can get like too comfortable with it. And then it's like, you're just going through the motions. But like now though, where like we've been off for a while and like there's like Chattanooga has some rooms, but like it's not like you're getting up every night. And so now like the rust is really like sticking to me. Like I felt like I knocked it off in Birmingham and then it's like, oh, then we had a show cancel and I'm like, oh no, this is horrible. But Comedy Works in Denver, which as we talked about, not only one of the best clubs in the world for just like people to see a show, but like comedians love it too because it's such a like it's like going to the gym. Like it's a real good place to like really get it and find it because the atmosphere is just so tremendous. Like, you go up there with some like half decent premises, you'll work it out by the end of the show and you're gonna find it. Everybody kind of gets on like a wave in that club. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's fucking awesome. I wanted to tell you a brief story and get your feedback on it, how you would have reacted. And it's about Katie, and she's already posted this. She's already posted this on her own Facebook, so I'm totally in the clear.
What do you want to bet? What do you want to bet that I would have reacted the exact same way you did, and whatever that is?
Me, her, and the boys went to an escape room, a spaceship themed escape room on Saturday, which
I'm so glad this is getting brought up. You
pointed out, I texted y'all saying we were doing that, and you pointed out that that's a hilarious thing to do towards the end because they started school today. So it's like the last weekend before school. You're like, that's a hilarious thing to do after 18 months of being, locked down or whatever. It's like, yeah, let's go get locked in a room together, just us, an even smaller room. And you're right, it is obviously a little different, but that I hadn't even thought about that. I've always been intrigued by those. I I play video games that kind of have escape room elements, whatever, but I've never actually done one. So we went, and of course, I told y'all, I was like, well, I'm doing a escape room this afternoon, so I'll be busy this evening getting divorced. Right? Because I know what's going to happen. Me and her going to get in there and just arguing immediately because she thinks this and not be this. And we didn't argue, but here's what happened. So the escape room, I'm not going to give any of the things away about it, but they had these rules. It said on the website.
You mean from like a spoiler aspect? Like you don't want to spoil an escape room for people?
Also, I did mean that, but it also just isn't worth getting into those specifics of it because it's one of those like you had to be there type things. But they had age restrictions on the website. They had a question about age restrictions in the FAQ, and they said, we recommend children be at least 10 years old so they understand the game and also are respectful of the equipment or whatever. Kids destroy shit. My sons are 8 and 9, and they're both pretty smart. I knew they would have no trouble understanding it, and also they're pretty well behaved when it comes to that type of thing. So they're
like the two that are like they're actually more well behaved in public than they are at home.
So much,
which is great. I would say.
Yeah, no, it is cool. It's better than the opposite way. But yes, it's funny this has come up and that you say that because just a second ago I got a message on my phone from today's the first day of school.
The teachers like they're angels.
Benton's teacher on the first day of school sent me a message on the classroom app and said, I just want to let you know that Benton is such a polite and respectful and whatever. And I haven't said anything yet, but I'm gonna be like, well, glad he's that way there because he's a fucking spark plug at the house.
I was about to say, for those here who don't know the difference between the two, Benton, one of the craziest little motherfuckers I've ever met. And I say that with love. That's my boy, dog. Like I love him, but like absolute fucking unbridled lunatic.
Yes, he is. And so but apparently very well behaved at school. And also, like you said, they're that way in public too. And again, that is great. That's awesome. So I wasn't worried about them, but they are technically like under the age suggestion. So we get there, and I didn't bring that up or nothing, but he doesn't single them out. But the guy working there goes over this thing where he goes over all the things. He's like, please don't mess with it. Like, this is just for decoration. The wires are not part of it. Please don't pull the wires out of the wall. Please don't pull, And Katie said, she was like, so clearly these are things that previous groups have done. He was like, yes, rules exist for a reason. So anyway, just please don't do any of that. We're like, okay, we got it. We get in there, we start going through the thing. And at one point, you have an hour to do it. We've got like 15 minutes left, and we still have a lot to do. And I'm trying to decode this riddle to unlock these combination locks on this little lock box that looks roughly the length and size of like a screwdriver or something. Katie has found a box that has these, like, she's like, we know that box is what we got to get into for whatever reason. And she's like, that box you're trying to open has the screwdriver in it, I bet. And I was like, yeah, probably. So I'm trying to decode this riddle. And meanwhile, she's over there hunkered down by the box. And I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm unscrewing these screws. And I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, with my fingernails, I'm unscrewing the screws. And I was like, don't do that. Like, fucking, we got to get this riddle or whatever. And she's like, they're loose anyway. And she just unscrewed it, popped it open, they had laser guns in there. We do some laser gun shit. We actually ended up beating it with 5 minutes left. The guy came in there and he goes, okay, so you guys did very well because seems like you guys
cheated,
skipped a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah. And she told him, she was like, so there was a screwdriver in that box, right? And he was like, no, what are you talking about? And she was like, oh, well, I just assumed there was a screwdriver but the screws were loose. So I got them open. He was like, you did what? Of course, she wasn't supposed to unscrew the box. Yeah. It was a magnet lock. You were supposed to unlock. It was never supposed to be. She took it apart, basically.
Yeah.
And the guy was
but
like,
it worked.
No, that's not good. I mean, he wasn't like freaking out or nothing, but it was clearly a thing. And she just the whole time has been just utterly. She's like, what? It needed to be opened. And I knew that would open it. So I opened it, and my nerdy ass or whatever, my thing was like, that's not the spirit of the game, Katie.
Right.
It's like, I feel we have an asterisk. Okay. Like, I feel tainted by that victory because we failed to complete the proper steps. I know we beat it, but we only beat it because you fucking cheated. We have an asterisk on our victory now. I don't feel good about that one because you fucking cheated. You can't be doing that. And she's just still to this moment, she's like, she just don't see it. She's unapologetic about it. She's like, I found a creative solution to a problem and it worked, and that's like all she cares about. And it's just sort of like a fundamental difference between us. And I was just wondering if you were in that scenario, what Amber's drunk ass would have done in the first place, but also, like, I don't know. Just how you react to all that.
Well, I'll just be straight up real honest with you. I'm trying to be more self-aware lately. I think number one, that Amber would never, she would never have done that. And I don't mean and I don't mean that she would have been like, we're not supposed to do that. That wouldn't have crossed her goddamn mind to do.
Right.
Had she done that though, and that guy had been having that, I probably would have been freaking out more than you, because I hate being in situations like that. And I would have felt exactly like you. I'd have been like, we've just Barry Bonds this shit. Like, clearly it got done. But my point is about the whole being more self-aware. I'm more likely to have done what Katie did. You know what I mean? Like, I could see myself being like, well, goddamn, I can get this motherfucker open. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was a very red ass thing to have done, you know, but yeah, no. And the reason you said you probably, if you'd have been in the scenario I was, you would have been freaking out more because you don't like to be in those situations. I honestly, I'm the same way. I would have been more emphatic, but in my head, I was like, she ain't gonna get that fucking thing open. That's what I thought.
For sure.
I was like, we got to get in this box to open that box. She's over there fucking around with it. She ain't gonna get it open. I'm just gonna keep trying to solve this the right way. And then she's like, boys, come here. And I turn around and look, and she's just got it taken apart and pulled open. And then I was like, God damn, Katie, what the fuck? What'd you do? You know, and by then it was too late.
Yeah. And this is like a showing your work type thing too. Where like she, at the end, she's like, well, we got it. What does it matter? And it's like, right, but how you got to go through the right steps to get it. It don't just matter that you got to the right answer. Cause like, anyone can just come in here with a billy stick and just, and then we're out. Yeah.
Having said all that, though, because again, bit of a dork and a nerd or whatever, I fucking loved that. Like the whole,
I figured
that whole thing. I loved it. I can't wait to go and do another one. I'm probably going to become like an escape room junkie now. I had a great time in spite of my fucking, cheating ass wife, but just sounds worse than it is. Y'all know what I mean? You just heard the story. I've thought before, but I know it doesn't really work because you're not allowed, obviously, to record the experience or nothing because they have to keep it all a secret.
Yeah.
So I don't know why I'm even about to say this, but I've thought before that me and you and Drew on the road doing one of those would be real funny. But again, we literally can't do that because they won't allow it. But
it would have to be a setup thing where they're like, okay, actually, we were about to retire this particular game, because I'm sure that of course they do that, and they have like different games in rotation. But I can tell you right fucking now, someone's head would end up in that box.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. That's why it would be funny, is because it would be some shit.
and I won't say, but I'll let our audience figure out. I know exactly what would be the problem. I'm not gonna say, but y'all, I know exactly what it would be. Now, I mean, granted, like that would be you'd be so in daddy mode.
Yeah, I would.
And
I would. I'd be trying to corral both of y'all and whatever else.
Well, I'm good at shit like that.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you think that if you are into like, you think those would hit for you.
Yeah, I'm like weirdly good at things like that, and I have no idea why, because it doesn't seem like it's within my skill, because it requires paying attention and following directions. But like, if it's because I'm real competitive. If it's in order to win something, then I can just be like, all right, here we go. But yeah, I would end up me and Drew would end up stabbing each other for sure.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Yeah, you're right. I was like, yeah, well, we could just do it just for fun in my head, but you're right. It probably would end up not hitting. It'd be a homicide. It'd be a whole thing.
No, I mean, we could do it. I think that it would be good to do and then podcast right afterwards and talk about it. Yeah, that would be fun. I'm more than into doing it. But see, Drew to me seems like he would do the Katie shit, except for
I agree.
He would break something though.
Right. He would
break
no,
something.
We got to get this open, so fuck it, and just be trying to break it open or whatever.
And then when we have the conversation afterwards with the dude, it doesn't go as well as when you and Katie had that conversation. I mean, I'm not in left field here, am I?
No. And it was funny too when the guy that worked there came in, just how, again, Katie was just so oblivious. She was like, telling him exactly what she had done and like
I
smiling
get
and
like it
laughing
would hit
about
for
it.
her.
Like he was going to be into it. And he, of course, was reacting like, you did what? Oh, no, that's not right at all. And she's just like, it's just not phasing her at all. She's like, yeah, I just figured, so I just like,
why not?
Yeah, and it worked. So that's cool. And he's like a 20-year-old kid, and he's just like, yeah, well, that's okay. I guess we got a new rule now. So thanks for that. And it's just all having no effect on her.
Yeah, again, no, Amber would have never done that in a million years. I don't think it would have occurred to her to do that. And yeah, Drew would have just picked the box up and threw it against the floor and been like, oh man, fuck it, man. They got loss prevention. It's a write-off for them. And then he would have stabbed the guy with like a piece of wood that fell off of it or some shit like that. So maybe not the best of ideas, but I mean, it would be fun. I'm into it. Amber said that Amber's done one of them before, by the way.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that checks out to me because I feel like
it's a very white.
Again, I was about to say, listen, I just did it and I loved it, but they feel very like white person-y to me.
Yeah. Oh, they are. Yeah. Why would a black person want to be locked in a room?
Right. And have like somebody's been murdered. It's like, I'm not getting arrested. That's
not a great
game.
That's not a great. Me and Amber were actually just talking about. I can't remember the comedian is. It might have been Gene Getman. If it's not, if you know who this comedian was, tell me. I'll give him credit. But like, they had this joke that like only like skydiving is such a white person thing because white people were just like, I can't even have gravity oppress me. You know, that's it's like we have to add levels of excitement to our life that otherwise would never be there. Whereas
we have to like fabricate suspense and danger and things like that. Like also, I feel like intermittent fasting is a super white thing.
Of course. Just like, not eating every now and then for fun.
Like just to feel alive and because it's good for your health. Like choosing not to like. No, I have so much food.
Yeah,
I'm choosing not to eat it for hours on end.
Any type of cleanse at all is like such a why. And for the record, I hope it's very clear that we don't mean like only white people. It's a privilegey thing,
right?
You know what I mean? It's a privilegey thing. It's not like I know that there are some crunchy black woman yoga people out. I am very aware of that, but like the stereotypical. Yeah, if I hear somebody that's intermittent fasting or going skydiving or any of this, I know exactly who they are in my brain, and let's just say they look a lot more like Katie and Amber than they do Roddy White. You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
without a doubt.
But Amber said she did one of those, and I was like, how'd it go? And I very much wanted it to be like we had to stay in there. We got locked in there overnight because we were so stupid.
Who'd she do it with? Like girlfriends of hers?
Yeah, for sure. Like a bunch of girlfriends.
They were like drunk after brunch or something.
Hammered.
Hammered
drunk. And I said, "What happened?" She goes, "I don't really remember much of it." Which is how you wouldn't believe so many of her stories start off.
Right.
She goes, "I don't remember much of it." She goes, "I just remembered at the very beginning." Everyone was handcuffed together. Like all of us were handcuffed together. She goes, but I'm in the middle. And so she's like the bee in the human centipede. Like she's handcuffed and she goes, and this person was trying to go this way. And this group was trying to go this way. And it ended up like the handcuffs ended up like cutting her wrists. And she was like bleeding and shit. Cause they were just like, they were all hammered drunk. And they were just jerking her around.
Falling. Yeah. Just they're all independently falling, but not being able to, cause they're holding each other up. It's like, it's like a white lady perpetual motion machine or something.
Yeah.
She's like they're constantly in a state of stumbling.
Yeah. And she told me like who all was in that group, and some of them are big old women, boys. So like I know that like
they're churros.
Them churros. She was like a yacht anchor on one end. So she's like, I think we had fun. I'm sure she puked in the box with the screwdriver.
Did she say they got through it though?
Yeah,
like a group. They got through it. Okay,
yeah, they got through
like
it.
This one, I was expecting. I mean, they could be faking these numbers. They could say anything they want, but you walk in there and they have the percentage rate of completion. They've got 3 games in the building I went to. And each one of them's like 30-something%.
Really?
And I saw that and I was like, that's way lower than I thought. And again, we 100% would have failed if Katie hadn't
really
cheated. Yeah. So like, I'm sure they vary wildly in degree of difficulty, but I'm saying like I was going to be upset if it was like overly simplistic, but it wasn't. It wasn't like crazy hard. I mean, it was like it was right in the sweet spot, I thought, in terms of difficulty. But I would have, if you told me that Amber and her drunk friends went into the one I just did, I would bet a significant amount of money that they wouldn't have completed it. And if they're all roughly that difficult, then I'm kind of impressed that they solved the one they were in.
Well, they might prorate them in a way, like they see the group coming in, they're like, dial that one back to a 4.
They actually, now that you mention that, I know for a fact that they do. They have like difficulty ratings on the rooms. Some of them are easier than others. So
and I mean, they see these pumpkin latte warmers walk in, they're just like slurring their words. They're like, hey, give them the give them the toddler experience and really make them feel something.
Right. Because they're going to leave a real shitty review if they stay locked in there for an hour.
Yeah, for sure.
We need these white women to have a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey,
all right, listen, we're all adults here. Some of us choose to use nicotine to relax, focus, or just unwind after a long day. I'm one of us. I do that. And Lucy Nicotine is a company that was created to help us nicotine users find a cleaner option and feel better about the way we consume nicotine. Lucy's latest product is slim nicotine pouches, baby, which contain pure synthetic nicotine and provide the same satisfaction that nicotine users expect without any tobacco whatsoever. What? Okay. Lucy Slim pouches use the newest technology for synthesizing pure nicotine in the lab. None of the tobacco, all of the satisfaction. Lucy Slim pouches include both coconut oil and gum base to provide a soft, fluffy texture that enhances the flavor and doesn't dry out your mouth. They come in 3 different strengths, 4, 8, and 12 milligrams, that high test, dog, and 3 exclusive and delicious flavors, spearmint, mango, and cool cider. I bet we've been big fans of Lucy on here for a long time. Like I said, this goes for the pouches too. My personal favorite thing about this is that nobody can tell you shit about what you're doing. And what I mean is, if you're you're chewing gum, you got a pouch in your mouth, they can just shut the fuck up. Am I making sense yet? If you're at the gym or the movie theater or something and you need a shot of nicotine, if you pulled out a vape or, God forbid, a cigarette or a dip cup or something like that, some Nancy Grace type going to get up in your ass, right? And but with Lucy, you ain't got to worry about that. No, I'm just chewing gum. Also, mind your goddamn business. That's what I like about it. Listen, it's 2021. Don't compromise when choosing nicotine products. Go with the newest tobacco-free options from Lucy. So, WellRED listeners, go to lucy.co and use the promo code RED, that's RED, to get 20% off your order of Lucy Slim pouches or any Lucy products. That's lucy.co and use the promo code RED at checkout. As always, I'm legally required to give this disclaimer. Warning, this product contains non-tobacco nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. And I always add, which hits. Lucy.co, and be sure to use the promo code RED. We thank them for continuing to sponsor the podcast.
What's up, everybody? It's Uncle Daddy checking in with you real quick to talk to you again about Helix. As many of you know, I've spent most of the summer in Nashville, and the folks at Helix, they were like, you're moving to Nashville, you're trying to get on stage, we want to support you, we want to support the podcast, let's send you a bed, you're going to need to play a place to sleep. And buddy, they just about ruined me. I'd rather sleep in Nashville now. Andy knows it. She's upset about it. The reason why is because this mattress is unbelievable. I sleep so good on it. Before this mattress, before I upgraded to Helix, I was always too hot. And I told him that. And what I mean by that is Helix has a quiz. It takes 2 minutes to complete, and it matches your body type and sleep preferences to the perfect mattress for you. That's what I did. One of the things I focused on, I was like, I get too hot. They sent this mattress. It's called the Helix Midnight, and they were like, this ain't going to be too hot, and they were right. All right. Would you buy a mattress made for someone else? Of course not. So with Helix, you're going to get a mattress that you know is made for you. So everybody's unique. Helix know that. So they have several different mattress models to choose from: soft, medium, firm. For cooling, if you sleep hot, like I said. There's even a Helix mattress for plus-size sleepers, guys. I took the quiz. I was matched with the Midnight model because I wanted something that felt firm, but also I could sleep on my side and it would cool me down. And like I said, it's just been great. Andy's a little jealous. She's mad that I had it sent to Nashville. She was like, why didn't you have it sent here? And I was like, because I didn't have a bed in Nashville. And now we're fighting. And even though we're fighting, I'm still sleeping good because I'm sleeping on that Helix, baby. So if you're looking for a mattress, take the quiz. Order the mattress that you're matched to. It comes right to your door. It's shipped for free, and you don't ever have to go to the mattress store again. But you don't have to take my word for how awesome they are, okay? It was awarded the #1 best overall mattress pick for 2020 by GQ and Wired Magazine.
Just go to helixsleep.com Helix.com/WellRED. Take their 2-minute sleep quiz, and they will match you with a mattress that is absolutely perfect for you. They got a 10-year warranty. If you try it out, 100 nights risk-free. Dude, you can't lose. They'll even pick it up for you if you don't love it. So Helix is offering $200 off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners at helixsleep.com/WellRED. That is helixsleep.com/WellRED for up to $200 off and 2 free pillows. And we thank them for sponsoring the podcast. Skew. Yeah, I texted you the other day, but I don't know if you responded to this. And I wanted to talk about it just in terms of it being, I don't exactly know where to go with this other than like my mind is genuinely blown. Did you know that both Ronald Reagan and Thomas Jefferson were alive at the same time Harriet Tubman was alive?
I think I have heard that before. There's another one that's like
I know which one it is. Barbara Walters, Anne Frank
Jr. and Anne Frank, right?
All the same age.
All born on the same exact day, I think.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Dude, that Harriet Tubman, like Ronald Reagan, Thomas Jefferson shit, like, and for the record, what they with the original poster, it was on Reddit, so I don't know who it was. Like, it's way harder to like. I don't know if it was this original poster, it was their meme or whatever. Regardless, it was used to illustrate how we think racism and slavery is like old as shit.
Right.
And it's like, dude, I watched Ronald Reagan's funeral, and that dude was alive when Harriet Tubman was alive, who was alive when Thomas Jefferson was alive. Like, that shit, like, it's not like before that I was like, this country's fine. But like, it just really fucked me up. I was like, oh my God, dude,
so
we've got so long to go.
I've seen a few of those facts all serving to illustrate how young this country really is and how it really wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, because Thomas Jefferson's OG. He's OG. Right.
Did you come across the one about President John Tyler?
No, I don't know much about that dude. He was into birds, wasn't he?
This is literally the only thing I do know about him, but this is fucking wild. And it's in the same lane as what you were just saying. John Tyler was the 10th president of the United States. He was born in 1790. Okay. Lord. And he has a living grandson now today. Not great grandson. He has a grandson named Harrison Ruffin Tyler, who's 91 years old, 92, I guess now, who is still alive. So that dude's papaw was born in 1790 and was the 10th president of the United States. A dude that's alive right now. It's fucking, that shit is insane.
Is he loaded, you think?
I don't know. Could probably find
like
out.
That, I just assumed, I mean, as a president. So, I mean, obviously it's like John Tyler clearly, when he was like in his 80s or maybe 90s, got a young woman pregnant, right? And then that son probably had his kid way late. Yeah,
that's exactly what happened.
Who gives a shit? I mean, obviously
that's how wild.
It's insane. That's crazy. But like, I just have to imagine that, like, I know that the 10th president's a lot different than like a president now in the ways like there's just there's so many more ways to like capitalize on fame now than there used to be. Mm-hmm. But like, I just got to imagine that if you were the 10th president of the United States, like you had some money like afterwards, you know what I mean? Like, and then his son probably would have been able to capitalize it. Oh, dude.
Back then everything was land, you know, and I feel like you had to be a big fucking landowner, which means you probably had slaves in order to be one of them early presidents, you know, and big landowners were the fucking wealthy elites of that day. So I would almost guarantee you that this grandson, this 92-year-old grandson, he come from old slave money, you know, old cotton money.
So the daddy's born freaking.
I should probably look that up instead of just saying that.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to slander John Tyler.
I don't want to get John Tyler's people after me or nothing.
Yeah. One generation removed.
Tyler was born to a prominent Virginia family. His family, like many prominent white Southern families in the U.S. at the time, were slaveholders. So there you go. Nailed it. Pretty sturdy land to go out on. Yeah,
a lot of ropes on that limb, and so he like his
took me a minute.
This motherfucker's papaw was born 14 ish years after the signing of the Declaration of Independence. And then his daddy was alive during the Emancipation Proclamation. And then this motherfucker is alive during Trump's presidency.
Right. Yeah.
That is bananas.
It's crazy as hell,
fucking
dude.
bananas, dude. Like, my grandma was born in 1920, and that shit is just like, God damn, like, that's wild. But like, bro, 1700s?
Dude,
like, there's a time loop or something.
You've probably heard this before, I assume. I don't, this is just a thing I've heard. I can't point to a direct source or anything, but I've heard that like it was this focused campaign. You know how we see all these civil rights era pictures and stuff, and they're all
they made them black
white.
and white. They made them black and white. Yeah,
they didn't have to be black and white or weren't automatically black and white. They were made black and white so that people think of it as like ancient history. Which I'm not gonna lie, being born in the 80s,
me too.
I always kind of thought of it that way. But dude, these old fucking mamaws and papaws that are alive today were the ones holding the fucking fire hoses and throwing the fucking rocks and shit in those goddamn pictures. Like, they're still here, you know.
Oh,
and
dude,
the old black people were the ones on the other end of it. Like, they're still here. They remember all that shit.
Dude,
it wasn't that long ago. It's crazy to think about.
And if someone's out there and you sincerely think like, oh, making them black and white versus blah 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 wouldn't have mattered either, you're insane. If you think that, dude,
that was a brilliant move on big racism's part.
Dude, that's actually. I'm glad that you used the word brilliant, because it is. It's one of those examples of people always want to say that side, like, oh, everybody on that side's stupid. It's like, no, they're not. A lot of them are just bad, and that's one of them examples. Like, that is like, if you're on that side and you're a terrible person, that was a fucking stroke of genius, dude. Because like, like you said, man, like, you know, I saw another. You got me on Reddit, and I cannot.
I'm sorry. I apologize for that.
But I will say this though, the really, really good thing about Reddit is that, like, if you're in a subreddit, like, they're moderated so well that like some bullshit ain't gonna creep in that ain't the shit that you want to look at. And so like, I've curated my Reddit experience, and at present it's very good. You know, like, it's a lot of history memes. It's a lot of Star Wars memes and shit like that. The history memes obviously are the ones that like fuck me up the most, because history, while obviously interesting, American history at least, is so terrifying and just and it was somebody posted some meme that was like, how do you think a black boomer feels when a white boomer says, you know, we should go back to the 60s when everything was like a lot better. It's like, that's so insane. Like, I know that there of course was aspects. First off, the aspect of a white man's life in almost any decade is fine. You know, but I'm sure that in the 60s, if you had your head completely in the sand, like, the housing prices were fucking great, all that shit. But like,
it's objectively true, and it is just having your heads in the sand. I mean, for me, when I like coming from a town like Salina, the factory left in the night, whatever, and how markedly different everything is now, like, they're not thinking about the other aspects of it.
No.
And when you're myopic about it, and you're a white person, like small town white person, middle class white person, or whatever, it was objectively better for just them. Right. In the 50s and 60s. Part of also the other huge thing they ignored, though, was that our tax rate on the rich was fucking massive back then.
Yes.
Which is why I think that's actually the biggest reason.
Eisenhower's tax rate was like 90%, right?
It was insane, dude. Yeah. And like, they ignore that part too. Like, that's the biggest reason. It ain't got nothing to do with fucking black people or Mexicans or any of that, or gays. It ain't, or Muslims. It ain't got nothing to do with any of them. That's what it is. The fucking rich people took over, killed the middle class. So things were better for them, but they like blame all the wrong people for it being worse for them today, even though it objectively is. If their whole thing was like fucking tax and or eat the rich, because fuck them, then I'd be totally on board with their rhetoric, obviously. But they just,
as long as like it doesn't reverse the civil rights movement and shit like that.
Yeah, right. But they just don't.
Yeah, right. No. Well, dude, like,
do none of that.
Not that everybody doesn't cherry pick, but like, I was thinking about that the other day, and I was trying to write a bit, and then I realized like, this isn't funny. This is just kind of an observation that you have, and maybe I'm the only one that has this observation. But like, I was trying to think about unique differences between Democrats and Republicans, and one of them kind of occurred to me when I saw once again somebody talk about how they were the party of Lincoln and they freed the slaves, and I was sitting there thinking, I was like, why though when they're making that argument, does nobody ever bring up the fact that if they truly want to say that, then they have to also admit that they're a big government party, because Republicans were very big government back then. Like during that time, Republican meant big government. And it's one of those things where it's like when people go, well, look, either the Bible's all the way true or there ain't nothing in it true. It's one of the, if one part of the Bible's wrong, so that's why we go by all of it. And I'm like, well, then you have to follow that same logic. If you want to claim Lincoln, then you have to claim that Republicans are big government. So do that, but they don't. So I was thinking about the differences, and it was that Republicans can be doing right now so much vile, horrible, deplorable shit, and then be like, hey, we freed the slaves 200 years ago. Aren't we great? So they can be doing a bunch of bad stuff and then talk about something great they did in the past to try to justify everything they're doing now. Whereas Democrats are the complete opposite. They take someone who, let's say that they have someone who's being a really, really good person right now and doing a bunch of great work, but then they find out that 50 years ago he said the N-word. They're you're out. You know what I mean? So it's literally like a complete flip-flop. Like if we find out you did something in the past that was horrible, we don't give a shit what you're doing now. And with Republicans, they don't give a shit what you're doing now. It's what you used to do. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I do know what you're saying.
It's like that character witnessy bullshit. And again, nothing about that is funny. It just occurred to me. I was like, God damn, like if we did a little bit more of that, that would be like we should be like, hey man, come be a Democrat. They hated the blacks. You know what I mean? Like, why don't they go the other way? They did. They fucking hated them.
They absolutely hated them. But it's like, and I mean, you know this, I know, but it's like, what's so fucked up about that is they've always really been the same people.
Of course.
You know, it's just that literally the name, which seems to me the weirdest thing to have happened.
Yeah, like why did
literally the names flip flopped?
Yeah,
and they just mean the opposite of what they. But it's always been the same people on the two separate sides, you know, for the most part. And so even them doing that one thing we did great 200 years ago, it's like you did. That wasn't y'all.
That
wasn't your ancestors that did.
And for the record,
your ancestors was fucking Calhoun and them. John C. Calhoun and them.
And for the record, I'm not saying it was us neither. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that shit either. Like, I don't know what Lincoln would actually be like if you just took that guy, put him today, after his mind was completely blown by almost everything that he had to experience in 10 seconds. I don't know where that guy would fall in. I mean, you know, because you look at it, Lincoln famously said, if I could win this war without freeing one slave, I'd do it. There's several ways to interpret that. Whichever one you choose to is whatever. But like you could say, he's like, yeah, I mean, look, that doesn't mean he didn't want to free slaves. All he was saying was, I do want this war to be over.
I'd do anything to win this war.
Right. But Robert E. Lee also famously said one time, if I could buy up all the slaves from everybody and free them, I would. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So which one of those, are you the party of Lincoln and Robert E. Lee's your hero? Or is Robert E. Lee, you know what I'm saying? Like, fucking, you can use any of that
the
bullshit.
Past is fucking complicated.
The past is complicated and nuanced, and it doesn't fucking matter if Abraham Lincoln was a Democrat or Republican. Abraham Lincoln did the right thing in the moment, and these motherfuckers, time and time again, we're living in it right now, don't do that shit. So I'm not really concerned with like the R or the D. Are you a piece of shit or are you not a piece of shit? But they don't. They're like, nope, 200 years ago, we freed the slaves. And then what? That seems like, though, that didn't hit for y'all. Like in every other thing that you've done in your life, it seems like that was no good.
Yeah, which just all the most fervent modern day Republicans. You're saying you don't know how Lincoln would have turned out if you moved him forward 200 years in time. And yeah, I hear you. I guess you never really know, but all the most fervent modern day Republicans, if you moved them backwards 250 years or whatever in time, they 100% would have owned slaves.
Absolutely.
If they had the means to do it. Like, you know that for a fact. They do as much like oppressing and subjugating and fucking, you know, racisming and everything as they can get away with in the modern world. If they were back then, hell, a lot of them, you wouldn't even have to make them be born 250 years ago and grow up back then. You
just
could just
make
take
it legal
them right now. Just take them right. Yeah, I was going to say, just take them right now and deposit them fully formed that many years ago, and they'd be like, which way to the slave market?
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
But yeah, hell yeah, just make slavery legal right now, and they'd be lining up, dude.
Because that's a huge thing with them is like they look at legality as the end all be all to morals.
Right. Yeah.
Like if something is legal, that means it's not wrong. And like, I mean, technically by rule of the law, yes, but like we know that that's not always fucking true. Like redlining is legal. That doesn't make it fucking right.
Is that tied to like religion and the Bible and stuff?
In the Bible, it says obey the law of the land.
They're like,
they
because I feel like that's related to, I've had people, and I'm sure we've talked about this before, but I've had religious people be like, well, Trae, without the Bible, how would we know, the difference between right and wrong, that whole thing of like, if that true detective line was like, if the only thing keep it. Yeah. Go ahead. You got it.
I know it's McConaughey in the tent. And he's like, brother, if the only thing keeping you from, I can't remember it now, then
from being a good person is the threat of divine condemnation or something like that,
then you, my friend, a piece of shit. Yeah.
Right. Like that whole thing. But like they think that way though. Like I need the Bible to tell me what's right and wrong. And it's like that also projects onto what you're talking about. Cause you're so right about it's like whatever the law says,
that's fine.
Unless it's the tax law.
No, I know. But but it's crazy that you say that because where that comes from in the Bible of like obeying the laws of the land was like also directly tied to a verse. I can't remember what book or chapter or whatever, but basically it was give unto Caesar what Caesar asks. Mm-hmm. And it was basically just like, look, the Bible is your guiding line, but like you also have to obey the laws of the land because that's just how society works. So like, yes, dude, but yeah, you're right. Not now, like, cause back then what they meant was Caesar's asking for taxes, dude. You know what I mean? They're like, yeah, do that. But now that's not the thing. But like, yeah, their whole thing is like, dude, if for some reason, I don't know why there was a glitch in the system and tomorrow for some wild thing happened and it became legal to have sex with your 12-year-old niece, some of these motherfuckers will be like, sweet, we got 24 hours. You know what I mean? Like, that's just how that works. It's legal. It's fine. And it's just so insane. But like, yeah, they totally like, I don't know what to tell you. Like he was doing everything within the letter of the law. And it's like, again, hate to beat this drum, but like at one point slavery was legal. That never once made it morally right. Never. Like not at all. Yeah. Like again, the systemic racism in the police for all of that shit is by letter of the law. Like that's how it's, set up. But like, yeah, dog, like that's like always been their shit. So like, dude, Rand Paul would own so many slaves. Yeah. So many slaves. And I love thinking about like them revolting and beating him to death.
Yeah.
Can I get canceled for saying that?
No, you fine. Okay. When his fucking neighbor almost beat him to death, that hit for us. We talked about that on the podcast and made fun of it. Cause fuck him. That's why. But no, dude, even like just in terms of morality, like, yeah, they'd own slaves if they could. But, dude, also all these fucking plutocrat these captains of industry.
Yeah.
Like, dude, tell Jeff Bezos has tried so hard.
He does. Slaves. He almost has them.
I know. He comes as close as you could come to having legions of slaves. And, like, if you told him tomorrow, hey, we're cool with you having slaves, like that, dude, drop of a hat. He fucking pull the slavery rope, and then fucking the rope drops down from the ceiling. He tugs on it, and then they all just turn into slaves. He would do that.
Please understand. I'm gonna preface this by saying there's almost nothing in human history as bad as literal colonial slavery. Almost nothing. However, nowadays, since that is illegal, if you are someone who is constantly paying minimum wage or almost below minimum wage to people, knowing that they don't have health care and knowing that the money that you give them, even on a 40 to 50 hour a week, can't afford them a house, and they basically have to work overtime just to make ends meet. If you're someone like that who probably also has stock or owns outright a for-profit prison, you are a fucking modern-day whip cracker, and I don't really know any other goddamn way to put it. Again, I know you actually don't have people living on your land that you're paying zero amounts of money, but it's goddamn real fucking close. Like you said, they came as close as they could to to exploit. Like I don't know any other way to put it. And I don't think that's fucking political. Like, it just seems like, look, that's just what it is, and hits for y'all. So just admit that you're assholes.
Well, and with like immigrants and stuff,
Yeah.
actually it's even worse than
For
that.
sure,
I mean, it's
'cause
like
they don't have to pay them any minimum.
right. It's almost like, again, it's as close to slavery as you could come. And I mean, there are like slavery exists in the modern world in like black market term, human trafficking and all that shit. It still happens. So I mean,
well, dude, the immigrant thing too is like, it's so wild. Like the cognitive dissonance, specifically in my area, and my area, wild as fuck, boy.
Yeah.
I mean, my area is like it's like the QAnon shit. Like, we're in some sort of portal. You know what I mean? Like, when you're in here, it's just, when you come here, it's crazy. Like so Dalton, Georgia, which is 15 minutes up the road, carpet capital of the world. All right, of the world. I've heard this my whole life, but like, there are like signs in Mexico telling Mexicans how to get to Dalton, Georgia, because they hire a bunch of, and I'm not using this term disparagingly, just have illegal immigrant, undocumented workers, because it hits for them to not have to pay them as much money.
Well, that's one of those law you were saying earlier, like the law is, the final word on things, unless you can make more money by ignoring it, and then they just do.
But these same motherfuckers in Dalton, like, there are so many billboards right in front of carpets of Dalton and shit like that. It's like, we support Donald Trump, build the wall, I'm like, guys, this whole city is built on y'all having the complete opposite. In practice, you practice the complete opposite of that. Like, if y'all, now don't get me wrong, would I love it if fucking carpets of Dalton had to start actually hiring American citizens and paying them a livable wage? Hell yeah, of course I would. Not necessarily at the expense of uprooting and kicking out a family who was just trying to make it in supposedly the greatest country on earth. But dude, I don't know, man. Hey, we got a guest here on the WellRED podcast, Drew Dollars. Hey, Drew, we were talking about how you'll never believe this, how Republicans are full of shit and contradictory.
Who?
Republicans. Do you have any thoughts
on Republicans being contradictory and full of shit? I've never even experienced that in my whole life. That's sarcasm. Are you guys talking about anything specific?
We were talking about immigrants, and I was talking about in Dalton, Georgia, how it's carpets of Dalton. It's their biggest industry there. And there's literally, from what I've heard my whole life, there's signs in Mexico telling people how to get to Dalton because they hire so many undocumented workers. But then also Dalton is such Trump country with all these huge banners over carpets of Dalton, probably put up by those people that are Trump, build the wall. And it's dog, your whole industry is based on practicing the complete opposite of that. If these people don't get in, then you got to actually start paying white people something.
Well, my favorite thing about that is if there's white people in that area who can't get a job because the Mexicans are taking, $7 an hour or whatever. Yeah. And they're the people who own the factory, who are hiring those Mexicans, are putting up the Trump signs. And then the people who can't get the job are going, exactly.
I know.
That's my kind of business right there. It's that's the guy who's creating this problem for you in the first place.
Also, dude, there was a famous example in Alabama. I mean, hell, it's probably been 10 years ago now, but Alabama passed some super, super strict immigration laws. And then that fall, that harvest season or whatever, they had record crop losses, disastrous crop losses, because they literally could not find white Alabama people
for
to
that
take
price,
those jobs. And it just, it fucked the whole industry up because they ran the immigrants off. And, I don't know whatever happened with that. I don't know if they went back on it or what, how Alabama is, but I'm just saying, it's they bitch, but white people won't do them jobs for that amount of money,
That's the thing. They go, these goddamn Mexicans are coming here and taking our jobs. And then we go, okay, yeah, Donald Trump hired a bunch of undocumented workers to do this, and this. And they're like, yeah, well, as a businessman, he should have the right to do whatever he wants. It's but the only, it's not like Mexicans it's not like these undocumented workers are coming here and creating the jobs. So the only way that they'd be able to do that is if your people quit fucking hiring them and paid goddamn American citizens a livable fucking wage. And if they'd paid them a livable wage, then they would have been able to find motherfuckers in Alabama to pick them goddamn strawberries. I guarantee you that.
Yeah. Yeah, baby.
So that's what we've been talking about.
Well, sometimes I do think there are some businessmen, and on the right and probably on the left, who are like, no, I'm against building that wall. Let them in. And you think, oh, that's very nice and progressive of you. And then you get down to it, and it's like, because we need these, there's some Alabamans going, listen, y'all done took our slaves.
Dude,
don't take our immigrants.
That's actually kind of how we got into this. We were talking about slavery and how they would totally own slaves if they could, like, the most hardcore, and then that led into the immigrant and cheap
I mean,
labor
it's the perfect grift. It's like, hey, we get the best of both worlds. We get the cheap work from the Mexicans, and we get everyone to be mad at the Mexicans for it. It's perfect. Yeah. Like, it's fucking, again, it's brilliant. It's shitty, but
they're real good at that stuff.
Dude, they're amazing.
I know that Drew just got here, but we need to wrap this one up, right? Because we do an episode of Bubba, which we've told people about. So it'll
be out. By the time they're hearing this, you can go listen to the first episode.
Oh, hell yeah, right on. So we've got another one to do. And
Bubba shot the podcast.
You guys plugged Denver, I assume?
Yeah, we did.
Can I plug quickly? We obviously lost Arkansas. I'm going to do a music festival in Knoxville on August.
Our show, by the way, we lost a show in Arkansas. Just in case anybody, they didn't secede. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Check the news.
That's why I'm late, boys. We have reporting from the field. We lost Arkansas. Them goddamn pigs was at it again. Jason Isbell, you son of a bitch. Anyway, I'll be in Knoxville at Second Bell Music Festival. Tickets are $50, but that's for 2 days of awesome music. Houndmouth's going to be there. J. Ruddy Walson's band, Pom Pom, is going to be there. That's his new project.
Oh, nice.
I'm in the comedy tent. It's going to be a fun time. I'll be there on Saturday with my buddy Joe Pettis and Jeff Blake and many others.
August 28th?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Right on.
Cool.
Yeah, do it to it.
Well, hit it, Joe.
Thank you all for listening to the WellRED Show. We'd love to stick around longer, but we got to go. And tune in next week if you got nothing to do. Thank you from Corey and Trae and Drew.
We changed it up.